The approach of the UNFSS scientific group and an overview of the volume. The scientific group's design and approach. In April 2020, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations invited Joachim von Braun to chair the scientific group for the UN Food Systems Summit. The mandate was as follows. The scientific group is responsible for ensuring that the summit brings to bear the foremost scientific evidence from around the world and helps expand the base of shared knowledge about experiences, approaches, and tools for driving sustainable food systems that will inform the future. The work of the scientific group ensures the robustness and independence of the science underpinning dialogue of food systems policy and investment decisions. It also informs the content of the summit, its recommended outcomes, and the asks and commitments that emerge from the summit. Note 2. See https://wp-content/wp-content/uploads/2020/11/terms_of_reference_web.pdf. It was new for a UN Food Summit to establish an independent scientific group with such a significant mandate. The scientific group, SC Group, constituted a team of 28 food systems scientists, social scientists, economists and scientists working within the natural and biological sciences, ecology and food technology, from all over the world, identified in consultation with research organizations. Note 3. https://sc-fss2021.org/about-us/membership/. They served in their personal capacities. SC Group members developed a series of original scientific papers, which were peer-reviewed and scrutinized by governments, civil societies and members of the general public. Note 4. https://sc-fss2021.org/materials/scientific-group-reports-and-briefs/. The inclusive approach of the SC Group resulted in the earlier drafts of the chapters of this volume being widely distributed as inputs in preparation for the summit. In addition, diverse viewpoints were sought from wide networks of partners of the SC Group from all regions of the world. Note 5. The Science Reader for the UNFSS. https://wp-content/uploads/2021/09/sc-group_reader_UNFSS2021.pdf. These research partners were selected based on their commitment to scientific research and diversity of knowledge frameworks and regional coverage. They included academic and research institutions, policy think tanks, UN agencies, academies of science, indigenous peoples' knowledge communities, private sector research and advocacy organizations. Note 6. https://sc-fss2021.org/community/partners/. SC Group members, along with other independent experts, served as commentators and reviewers of the contributions from the partners. This volume compiles the findings of the SC Group and its partners. The chapters have been further edited in the wake of the summit. The chapters culminate the fulfillment of the SC Group's mandate and provide science and research-based, state-of-the-art, solution-oriented knowledge and evidence to inform the transformation of contemporary food systems in order to achieve more sustainable, equitable and resilient systems. Volume Overview. This volume is divided into 7 sections. While it is organized by key themes, the interdependence of food, health and environment systems is recognized, and interdependence vital for identifying innovations, technological, political, social and institutional, that can help to synergistically achieve multiple SDGs and end hunger by 2030. Part 1, on food system concepts and summarized recommendations, presents 7 priorities for accelerating the transformation to healthier, more sustainable, equitable and resilient food systems. These are: 1. End hunger and improve diets. 2. De-risk food systems. 3. Protect equality and rights. 4. Boost bioscience. 5. Protect resources. 6. Sustain aquatic foods. And 7. Harness digital technology. This section also includes a key contribution by the SC Group concerning sharpening food systems concepts and definitions so that these concepts are better understood when we make calls for food system transformation. Part 2 deals with actions on hunger and healthy diets. The section begins with a definition of a healthy diet. It was an important, but not straightforward, task to arrive at a widely accepted definition of healthy diets in the context of a world with many diverse food systems and cultures of dietary patterns. Also, concepts of sustainable and healthy diets were elaborated and remain themes under discussion. This section also focuses on zero hunger. Approaches for ensuring access to safe and nutritious food are explored, highlighting the need for a whole system approach in policy and research, as well as monitoring and evaluating to manage externalities. The critical importance of comprehensive modeling of the synergies and trade-offs of policy actions is demonstrated. Solutions for enabling the shift to healthy and sustainable consumption are offered, including behavior change interventions, food education, improved product design, investments in food system innovations, regulatory regimes for food safety and more. Both the public and private sectors have important roles in responding to and shaping the market opportunities created by changing consumer demands. Attention is paid to the role of fruits and vegetables in healthy diets, and priorities for research and action are identified. Part 3 delves into actions for equity and resilience in food systems. This section discusses the various types of inequalities persistent within food systems and identifies key drivers of said inequalities. The increased inequalities at the national and also, recently, global levels are noted as major concerns for equitable food systems. Noting that the most effective way to sustainably eradicate poverty and inequality is to boost the opportunities and capacities of the poor and those living in situations of vulnerability, a wide range of actions are explored in the chapters to enhance inclusive decision-making, protect the livelihoods of those living in situations of vulnerability while creating opportunities and design policies and institutions to support equitable food system livelihoods. Opportunities for gender equality and women's empowerment are prominently discussed, as are opportunities for engagement and empowerment of youths. The future of small farms is prominently considered, and it is emphasized that food system transformation must serve smallholders and not leave them behind. Indigenous peoples' food systems received high attention from the SC Group, and the enhanced cooperation between Indigenous peoples' knowledge community and the scientific community is a real achievement of the UNFSS. The specific challenges faced by Indigenous communities and their priorities for action are highlighted in a contribution in this section. Novel approaches to urban food systems transformation in the emerging economies, including the role of secondary cities, are discussed. Foreign policy and security policy dimensions of food system failures are considered, because both the pathways to food insecurity from violent conflicts and those from armed conflicts to food crises have become much more prevalent in recent decades. The fundamental need to enhance food systems' resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks and stresses is addressed and different options for diversification are offered. Part 4 focuses on actions for sustainable food production and resource management. Chapters in this section explore the diversity of technological, institutional and policy innovations and actions for transforming the current nature-negative food systems into ones that are nature-positive in order to conserve, protect and regenerate natural resources and the natural environment, including biodiversity, through nature-positive landscape-level interventions and agroecological practices. While important advances have been made in delineating pathways for agroecology to contribute to sustainable food systems, it is clear that much more research and dialogue is needed. The call for more research and dialogue also applies to issues of sustainable livestock production and animal-based foods. Relatedly, there is a growing understanding that food systems are not simply or only terrestrial systems and that efforts must be scaled up to embrace aquatic food systems so as to assure their sustainability and resilience as well. Climate resilience and climate mitigation were key topics that were widely accepted during the UNFSS process, and their key roles in food system transformation are addressed in various chapters. Similarly, the role of water, especially scarcity and water pollution, is tackled. It is recognized that the integration of biodiversity into agriculture and holistic approaches to plant nutrition that consider its hidden costs are integral to improving health, eliminating hunger and reducing negative environmental impact. The reduction of food loss and waste is confronted, and it is clear that action is needed for incentives and behavior change that will cut food waste and technologies that will cut food loss. Part 5 discusses costs, investments, finance and trade actions. This section begins with a chapter that advances our understanding of the true cost of food, reflecting the environmental and health-related costs of food. The emerging tragedy in the efforts around food system transformation is the extraordinarily high true cost of producing and processing food, estimated at about $30 trillion, compared to the relatively low cost of overcoming hunger, estimated at about $50 billion a year. An accompanying chapter assesses the cost and affordability of a basic meal around the world. Innovative financing solutions are offered to support the investments needed for achieving the SDG 2 goals and ending hunger, and it is disappointing that they did not make it into the UNFSS action agenda. Similarly, important trade issues and trade policies that can complement countries' national policies for sustainable food systems are presented but were not taken up in the UNFSS action agenda. Part 6 shares regional perspectives. Chapters in this section show the great diversity in food systems around the world and indicate that follow-up actions for transforming food systems will need to be equally diverse. Chapters examine the opportunities for science, technologies, policies and innovations to transform food systems in Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as in large countries such as China, India and Russia. It is clear that there is much to learn, adapt and innovate from experiences within and across countries and regions, and there is an important opportunity for knowledge communities and networks to share experiences and insights in the follow-up to the UN Food Systems Summit. Part 7 concludes by addressing strategic perspectives and governance. This section sets the stage for a broad review of the role of science, technology and innovation in transforming food systems around the world. The multidimensional concept of bioeconomy for the transformation of food systems is examined for its potentials and opportunities. Recognizing the extraordinary impacts of COVID-19, the links between global food security and One Health, the interconnectedness of the health of people, animals, plants, soils, water and the environment, are discussed. It is widely acknowledged that science and policy will face challenges in regard to food system transformations at the global and national levels. Science policy interfaces for transforming food systems emerged as a contentious topic during the UNFSS preparations, including what type of interface at what level, national or international, and whether existing interfaces are sufficient or new interfaces are needed. Another chapter details the key steps needed to transition and transform our food systems. The penultimate chapter of the section, and of this volume, reiterates the calls for exploring options for a global science policy interface on food systems. It makes clear that the implementation of the action agenda of the UN Food Systems Summit and the transformation of food systems calls for enhancing countries' local science and research capacities. The final chapter of the volume presents 3 key opportunities for science to transform food systems. 1. Strengthen research cooperation between scientific communities and indigenous peoples' knowledge communities. 2. Expand financing within governments to spend at least 1% of food system GDP on food system science, and 3. Establish pathways towards strong science policy interfaces networked across national and international levels to enable evidence-based follow-ups to the action agendas established at the summit. The overarching conclusion of this volume is that the global food system needs a revamp, in policies and institutions, as well as on the social, industrial and technological fronts. Successes of the UN Food Systems Summit and attention to unfinished business. It was a bold decision by the UN leadership to unleash a multi-stakeholder process, as well as invite an independent scientific group to mobilize science communities around the world to advise the summit agenda with science-based evidence. The scientific and knowledge communities welcomed this move by the UN and have become energized to address complex food system problems with a renewed commitment to identify solutions. The SC Group considers the UN Food Systems Summit a success, but there is also unfinished business. When benchmarking against earlier summits, 5 promising outcomes are highlighted. 1. Political and societal engagement. The summit was much more inclusive and mobilized nations and stakeholders with multiple dialogue formats. Never before has the world discussed and considered food system issues with attention to nutrition, health, ecology, and much more. Note 7. See the Food Systems Summit Dialogues https://summitdialogues.org/. 2. Scientific engagement. Also, never before has science had the opportunity to contribute in so many ways to the agenda of a food summit. Open debate and action orientation mobilized many academies of science, research organizations, academics and practitioners. 3. Action agenda. The UN Secretary-General's Statement of Action, with its systems focus, and the 5 action areas to help inform the transitions needed to realize the vision of the 2030 Agenda are noteworthy. 4. national-level input and implementation were appropriately emphasized, and 5. Significant global initiatives on tackling hunger, healthy diets, anemia in women, agroecology, soil health, oceans and more were launched. Yet, there are some important areas that require further attention in the future. 1. Strengthening the capacities for implementation of actions at the national level, especially in emerging economies, is essential. This is an area for stakeholders to get together and catalyze the necessary actions, and scientific bodies can assist. 2. Developing a strong finance agenda for the investments needed to achieve the end of hunger and other key targets is important. The financial proposals, including those from the SC Group, did not find sufficient resonance, and other approaches are needed. 3. Encouraging institutional innovations and enhanced coordination for an improved science policy interface at the global level that is well networked with regional and national interfaces remains critical, and 4. Facilitating strong global-level actions in key areas such as climate, COVID-19, and trade, to accompany national-level actions and implementation, is necessary, as is addressing emerging food price inflation. This volume has been assembled to inform the way forward on the transformation of global food systems beyond the UN Food Systems Summit and to show how science can and must contribute to the transformation of food systems in order to end hunger and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Center for Development Research, ZEF. University of Bonn, Bonn, Germany. Joachim von Braun.